We spoke to Turkey, and he went through a system, and we got him out. They've been trying to get him out for a long time. Well, this has nothing to do with anything. There was no deal made at all. There was no deal. But we're very happy to have him and have him in good shape. I hear he's in very good shape.
All right, that was President Trump earlier tonight talking about the release of American pastor Andrew Brunson. Joining us now on the phone from the American Center for Law and Justice, also the president's attorney, and also at times he's been mine, Jay Sekulow. You have worked on this case, Jay, from the very beginning. I know how hard you worked. I know how hard the president has worked on this. This is great news tonight.
No, this is a big win. And, it was funny when you did the introduction. I feel like I'm representing everybody tonight. But what a great day it is for the Brunson family and for Pastor Brunson himself. And the president and the administration did just a phenomenal job in moving this case forward. Sean, I've handled a lot of these, and the fact is they're difficult. There are times when there's progress and there's times when they're not. And this was even more complicated because it was a NATO ally. But the end result of it, the positive aspect of this, is that the pastor has been released unconditionally and is en route. He may already have landed in Germany and will be coming back to the United States as early as tomorrow. So this is a great win. And again, a huge thank you to the president, to the administration, and to members of Congress
point,
as well.
Though, Jay.
But the president really led the charge here to get this done, and I really appreciate it. So does the family.
And there was no deal, and the charge for Pastor Brunson was he was preaching the gospel, right?
Yes, I mean, the indictment itself has the word, it's in Turkish, of course, but it's called Christianization, and that is, they view that act of running a small church, sharing the gospel as an act that was an act of terrorism. That's how they define it. This was a terrorism case, believe it or not. But again, the great news is he's been released, he's been returned. I appreciate you covering it, and again, appreciate all the work that the president did in getting this accomplished for the family.
All right, Jay Sekulow, I know you've been working on this since the beginning. Congratulations, President. Also, great job. Joining us now, we have more on our top story from earlier tonight, the media's vitriol towards Kanye West. All of the things that have been said. Why he met with the president, and he was talking about solutions. You don't have to take my word for it. Take a look.
I felt like I was sitting in on a psychiatric visit.
It's a travesty inside of a sham, inside of a mockery. Why fan the flames of the foolish?
It was really quite an embarrassment. I mean, what a sideshow.
This was a giant, shiny object in the Oval Office wearing a red hat.
Pretty unbelievable. Joining us now with reaction, media reporter for The Hill, Joe Concha, and the editor-in-chief of Campus Reform, Lawrence Jones, is with us. Joe, let's start with you. Just when you think it can't get any lower. I mean, here we go. I listened closely to what Kanye was saying. Maybe could have done without the cursing in the Oval Office. Fair comment, fair criticism. But he was talking about prison reform. And I think, in the case of Alice Marie Johnson, who I had on this program, what a great case for prison reform. Doesn't mean you let people out without paying a price. And he's talking about jobs, and he's talking about investment. He's talking about manufacturing and factories in America and safer cities. So tell me why that's a problem for so many people.
Those are things that are pretty important to people outside the media bubble, right, Sean? And remember, Kanye was considered poignant and a brave truth teller back in 2005 when he said George W. Bush doesn't care about black people. So it's funny how that's turned. And look, I don't know how we've got to a place now where we have rhetoric on a nationally televised news organization where you could say the words token Negro about an African-American entertainer, and the anchor of that program laughs along. And I look, and former CNN people are now speaking out about segments like that. Steve Krakauer was a senior digital producer at CNN. Here's what he had to say, and I'm quoting, "This is an absolutely shameful segment on Don Lemon's show last night about Kanye West. And if a similar segment occurred on Fox News about a liberal black person, CNN would be covering it as major news, and rightly so." That's exactly right. The Pitchfork store would run out of pitchforks. The studio studio that you're in would be surrounded by a media horde and protesters saying, how could you ever say that about an African American? I'll give you one more quote and we'll get to Lawrence. Glenn Greenwald, all right, he's very honest in his convictions. He's from the Intercept. Here's what he had to say, quoting, I can't remember an episode that has produced more crude, contemptuous, reckless, stigmatizing, and harmful discourse about mental health issues than the partisan anger primarily emanating from cable news and social media over the last 48 hours due to Kanye West's White House visit. I have nothing to add. That is said perfectly.
Lawrence Jones, if somebody is African American and they are conservative, Deneen Borelli, Niger Innes, Larry Elder, I can run through so many personal friends of mine. They are excoriated, they are dismissed, they are called every name in the book. It's horrible. Candace Owens more recently.
Let me tell you this, Sean. What happened in the White House yesterday was needed. People have been calling for a national conversation about issues facing our community. Was it in the way I would have did it? Absolutely not. But Kanye speaks for a lot of people in the tone that a lot of people in my community have some of their experiences that they have experienced lately. And so what we've seen is a lot of people in the mainstream media that sit on their high pedestals and attack him as being mentally unfit. They attack him as being a sellout to the community. When Kanye, quite frankly, has been talking about this for years. If you've ever listened to his hip hop, he's been talking about these issues. But he's not just getting this from the media, though, Sean. He's getting this from conservative intellectuals who say he's not conservative enough. He's not saying things the right way. I'm sorry, Kanye never said he was a conservative. He's a free thinker. He's speaking about issues of facing our community. He doesn't have to check every single checkbox of the conservative platform to speak for our community, Sean. And it's the same mob that we see.
His wife,
yeah,
you know, in the case of Miss Johnson that was released, if you know, they're helping to make the country better. He's talking about safety and security in our cities. He's talking about bringing jobs and manufacturing back to America. He's talking about prison reform. I'm like, okay, those are all great ideas. This is good for everybody.
But Sean, this is not about Kanye. This goes back to Donald Trump. Because he is connected to the president of the United States, they want to bash him. We're seeing the mob happen, and I'll say this.
Oh, the president can get it done, can he? Can he?
He can get it. He can get it done, but there is a mob that's after him, and we've been reporting at the Leadership Institute's campus reform for a while. It started on the college campuses. They tried to take out Kavanaugh. Now they're going to try to take out Kanye. I don't think they're going to be successful. Kanye's been doing this for a long time.
Last word, Joe.
Look, it's just another black eye for our media, and unfortunately, it's only going to get worse when the 2020 election starts in a couple of months, Sean.
Sad. All right, thank you both. When we come back, the ladies of The View, they viciously, again, they've done it before, attacking the First Lady, Melania Trump, 25 days out of an election. You won't believe what they said today. That's next. First Lady Melania Trump has long been the target of ruthless attacks from the left, and there are no signs of them slowing down. Now, the women on The View, well, they didn't hold back this week. Take a look.
Can we talk about this gigantic white pith helmet sitting in the shot? And it's really not a good thing to see because it represents a lot of stuff for folks.
This is also the same woman that, in the midst of what happened to Puerto Rico, wore a jacket that said, I really don't care, do you? So when she threw down that gauntlet, I've decided not to care about anything she says from now on. What she wears, what she does, what she says. Is it possible that she's not concerned with his mistresses because she was one of them? Is that possible?
Want to bet they'd never treat Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama that way? It's pretty despicable. Now, the press secretary for the First Lady responded to those attacks today in this tweet, saying, quote, day 2 of attacks from The View. Yvette Nicole Brown, check your facts before you accuse someone of being a mistress. She is the First Lady of the United States. She deserves your respect and certainly not your lies. Disgusting, hashtag disrespectful, hashtag accusation, hashtag liberal media. Here with reaction. American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp, RNC spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany. You know, if you reverse things, though, Kayleigh, it's very obvious to the double standard, because what you'd have is if this was about Michelle Obama, if this was about Hillary Clinton. You know, not only is it the First Lady, it's Ivanka Trump, it's Ted Cruz's wife, it's Sarah Sanders, it's Pam Bondi, it's Secretary Nielsen. Reverse any of these instances, and what would the liberal reaction be?
Oh, it would be out of this world, Sean. There are two standards here, one for conservative women, another for liberal women. These women on The View, these liberal leftists, they pose as feminists, Sean, but they are not feminists. They are faux feminists. They are fake feminists. They put on a platform Hillary Clinton, who has a history, a documented history of bullying the accusers of Bill Clinton. They put her on a pedestal while claiming the beacon of feminism. It is wrong, it is abhorrent, and those are shameful comments that you just played.
Let's talk, Matt, about that double standard. And I know your wife, Mercedes, has come under fire a number of times unfairly. Probably one of the nicest people like Melania you'd ever meet in your life.
Yeah, this is true. Let me just give people a little view of Melania. She doesn't get out there and do a ton of public things because she's raising her son. She's a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful wife.
Whoa.
And
They've
she
attacked
represents
him, too. They've attacked the 10-year-old.
Of course,
now
they'll attack everyone, but let's really look at this trip. First of all, she goes overseas, and it's inappropriate probably to comment on someone's looks, but let's face it, she is a stunner. She looks great. She's a fashion icon overseas. Here, they won't put her on the covers of any magazines. Overseas, they all know that she's epic. And when she went over there, she also was asked about the Kavanaugh controversy. And I have a theory. They didn't like her answer because her answer was, you're innocent until you're proven guilty, and there ought to be a better, more fair system. And they're sure taking it out on her. And you know what it is? It's like a gathering of the mean girls, and I think most women see this for what it is.
What is the answer, considering that the media would absolutely be apoplectic if it was conservatives or conservative activists doing what they do to Melania, to any other woman, but again, the attacking, the confronting in restaurants, etc. Kayleigh.
Yeah, that's right. You know, there are two standards, as I said. And, when I was over at CNN and had to talk about Hillary Clinton, I was told by several of my co-panelists, remember to treat her with respect. Let her take her rightful place in history as the first, soon-to-be first female president. Well, that's the standard Hillary Clinton gets. Melania Trump, on the other hand, the press makes up conspiracy theories about her when she is undergoing a health procedure. They make up things about her. Horrible. Make up things about her son, make up all sorts of things about her immigration status, her marriage. They attack her ruthlessly, but she rises every time they attack.
Like with the Kavanaugh case, I see an overreaching on their part, meaning the left's part, Matt Schlapp, and 25 days out of an election, I think this it could be what makes the big difference.
I don't think the Democrats understand something about the American people. They're decent. They believe people should be treated with dignity and fairness. When you step over the line, yeah, of course they're going to take it out on you. But Melania Trump, she represents us overseas. She's our first lady. I'd say hands off her son. I'd say be decent to her. And I do think the Democrats are overreaching. Let me tell you something. The House is going to come down to about 25 seats decided by 2 points or less. It's all on the razor's edge. And the mob mentality and this meanness, I think it does nothing but help the Republican cause.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you both. Having met Melania on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Wonderful, loving, amazing person. English her fifth language, an amazing mom, one of the nicest people you'll meet. All right. Thank you both. When we come back, now Fusion GPS co-founder, following Rod Rosenstein's lead, well, he's now allegedly refusing to appear before the House Judiciary Committee next week. He wants to invoke the fifth. We'll check in with Catherine Herridge with a full report. Congressman Jim Jordan, Sarah Carter, Greg Jarrett, as we continue this busy Friday news night. Straight ahead. All right, so Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson is defying Congress, reportedly refusing to appear before lawmakers next week. Joining us now with all the details in Washington, our own Catherine Herridge. Catherine, first Rod Rosenstein, now we got Glenn Simpson.
That's right, Sean. Glenn Simpson will plead the fifth next week rather than testify to Congress. His firm Fusion GPS was paid by the DNC and Clinton campaign for its work on the so-called Trump dossier. In this letter, Simpson's lawyer questioned the House Judiciary Committee's motive, saying the goal of this committee is to discredit and otherwise damage witnesses. Last year, Simpson told another House panel that he first met with Justice Department official Bruce Orr after the 2016 election. That contradicts Orr's own emails that show contact months earlier. or as you know, became a back channel to the FBI for the dossier after British spy Christopher Steele was fired. A review by Fox News of congressional testimony, court records, and other related documents indicates at least 5 sources brought the dossier to the FBI's attention before and after Election Day. Earlier this year, former FBI Director James Comey seemed vague about the dossier and what he knew of its political origins.
The Steele dossier comes out sometime early July. When did you personally learn about the memos in the dossier?
Sometime in the fall. I don't remember exactly when.
You're talking fall of
16.
Right.
I remember being given a copy of it. I don't know whether it was September, October, sometime in that period of time.
And tonight, the Washington Times is reporting that Glenn Simpson will defy Congress and not show up next week on Capitol Hill to take the fifth. Sean, we're working to independently confirm that reporting.
All right, Catherine Harridge in Washington, thank you. Here with reaction, author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, The Russia Hoax, The Illicit Scheme to Clear Hillary Clinton, Frame Donald Trump, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, also Fox News contributor Sarah Carter, and Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Thank you all. Congressman, let's start with you because we now have a situation where Glenn Simpson won't testify, Rod Rosenstein won't testify.
Yeah.
Congress doing their job of oversight has been obstructed the entire way, and you wait years and you still don't get documents. And they never told the court in FISA about the political origins, meaning Clinton bought and paid for all this.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. There's a pattern here. We should compel Glenn Simpson. We should make him come out and to come to Congress and actually assert his privilege. He shouldn't just be able to phone it in. He should have to come there. But understand what they're trying to do. They're just trying to run out the clock. They actually want the Democrats to win. And if the Democrats win, they're never going to be called in front of Congress, and we'll never get the answers for the American people. That's their goal. And Simpson is just part of a bigger pattern. Lois Lerner at the IRS targets conservatives. She takes the fifth. Brian Pagliano sets up Clinton's email system and email server. He takes the fifth in front of Congress. And now Glenn Simpson, the guy hired by the Clinton campaign who went out and hired Christopher Steele to put together the fake news dossier. He's taken the fifth. And frankly, I'm tired of it, and I know the American people are.
You know, Sarah, you got now the political origins that was literally never told to the FISA court. 4 warrants, the bulk of information is the phony dossier. He, again, helped put this thing together with Christopher Steele. And beyond the fraud, now you have this institutionalized obstruction, and the people involved, they won't even talk about it. They won't even go to Congress. They won't hand them documents on it.
Well, which is the reason why Congress should subpoena Rod Rosenstein. That should be on their agenda. And this is the reason why Glenn Simpson should be found in contempt if he doesn't come and discuss this before Congress. We know a couple of things, Sean, based on the reporting today, based on sources that I've spoken to. It appears that Glenn Simpson lied. And if he did, he needs to explain himself. And this is something Congress should hold him accountable for. Glenn Simpson, remember, he was the one that was apparently spreading all of the stories about the Alpha server, the Russian bank that was communicating with Trump Tower. And then we eventually figured out, based on evidence, that that was not true. The FBI threw that out the minute they started looking at it. But it didn't stop Glenn Simpson from spreading malicious lies through the media, which he was doing even with the dossier. I mean, look, over and over again, we've said this, Sean. It looks like the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC were the only ones colluding with Fusion GPS, colluding with British foreign intelligence asset, a former Christopher Steele, who was then colluding with the Russians. There is no evidence that President Trump had any kind of collusion or communication with the Russians during the election. So the entire special counsel was really based on false premises.
It was based on it, but now it all begins to fit together, Greg Jarrett, and that is that now we know what the leak strategy was about because Lisa Page had said, oh, there's no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Sure. Peter Strzok even said there's no there. So 9 months in, they had absolutely nothing. Right. So then the leak of the dossier begins to create the impression that something had happened, but that's Hillary's bought and paid for Russian lies. Sure. You know, irony of all ironies. And then we got guys apparently talking about wearing a wire against the president of the United States and maybe trying to invoke the 25th Amendment.
You know, President Trump said recently, I don't have an attorney general, and he's right about that. On the very first day in office, Jeff Sessions began his recusal from the case. If the president had a real incompetent attorney general, he would have called Comey into his office and said, show me your evidence. And that attorney general would have discovered there was no evidence. He would have said, show me the evidence in the FISA warrant applications to spy on the Trump campaign, and would have discovered that it was all conjured by Hillary Clinton based on fabricated evidence. And that good and competent attorney general would have marched over to the White House and told the president, you must fire James Comey for violating a myriad of regulations and launch a serious investigation in front of the grand jury into the Russia hoax.
It sounds like we're getting there, though, because now you have, with James Baker's testifying and Lisa Page apparently telling some truth and Andrew McCabe in trouble. They all seem to be turning on each other. Here's the question. Will we ever get the declassified, unredacted 302s, Gang of Eight information, the FISA warrants? And do you all believe that this is now coming to a head and backfiring and people will pay the price? Jim Jordan.
Yeah, I think we should get all that information. We've asked for it multiple times. If you remember, a few weeks ago, the president initially said he was going to. Now he's going to run it through the inspector general. So hopefully soon we get it.
Sarah?
Oh, absolutely. I think the 302s will come before anything else, but I certainly believe that the Gang of Eight documents and the FISA will also come, maybe even after the election. That might be a little bit of a wait.
Greg?
Well, the rats are trapped in a cage and they're gnawing at each other and they're going to turn each other in and sing like canaries.
Yeah. Okay, great. Very descriptive. Wordsmith. A very good job. All right, thank you all.
I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle in Washington tonight. The last 24 hours have revealed so much about the left's clubhouse. No divergent ideas are allowed, and sometimes they're pretty viciously intolerant of any political differences, and then end up launching deeply personal and destructive attacks against anyone who violates their orthodoxy. Most recently, someone like a Kanye West or Justice Brett Kavanaugh. They felt their scorn. Tonight, as we barrel toward the midterms, we'll reveal the latest attacks and the possible political fallout. Tucker Carlson, Raymond Arroyo, Corey Lewandowski, Howie Kurtz, all here and many more. But first, the odious Kanye West pylon. The outrageous attacks on Kanye West continue as the left pulls its hair out over this meeting that Kanye had yesterday with President Trump. Now, check this out. MSNBC guest Michael Eric Dyson, you've seen him a lot on cable news. He pretty much called Kanye just too stupid to talk to the president on any issues regarding race and trying to just give the president cover on what he really is, I guess, just a white nationalist. Watch.
We, as African-American people, cannot stand idly by while you give cover to a man who is proved to be a white supremacist who has no interest in African-American people. This is such a blitzkrieg of blathering ignorance. Kanye, please cease the interventions through media of trying to engage issues about which you don't have sophisticated comprehension and knowledge.
Ooh, sophisticated knowledge like Beyonce and Jay-Z when they're in the Obama White House. All right, meanwhile, Donna Brazile is accusing Kanye of setting African Americans back 155 years. Look at that. Joining me now, Pastor Darrell Scott, CEO of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump, Leo Terrell, civil rights attorney, Jeffrey Lord, who served in the Reagan administration and is a contributing editor to the American Spectator, and with me in studio, Garland Nixon, radio talk show host and political analyst. All right, guys, great to have you all on. Thanks for joining me. And now, Leo, let me start with you. I just have to go back to what Michael Eric Dyson said. White supremacy by ventriloquism? Now, to me, when I hear that, Leo, I mean, set aside politics, if a conservative said that about an African-American, celebrity who was liberal, who was showing up with Obama or Clinton or anyone on the left for that matter, there would be hell to pay. But because Kanye's in the Oval with the president, It's okay to call it a minstrel show, call him stupid, call him insane, and now he's just a dummy with Donald Trump operating his dummy body. How could you think that that was a good thing?
Well, let me just be very clear. I'm not going to condone the personal attacks by Dyson, but I will simply say this. I was embarrassed when I saw Kanye West speak yesterday. It was a photo opportunity for Trump. Why was I embarrassed, Laura? Because I challenge anyone on this panel to say that the elimination of the 13th Amendment is a good idea, that stop and frisk exists. Kanye West does not have the skill set to talk about the 13th Amendment, which he did yesterday, stop and frisk, which does not exist. And Kanye West is the guy who said that George Bush hates black people. Let me be very clear. He's not a Condoleezza Rice. He's not a Colin Powell. And you know Michael Steele. Kanye West does not have the skill set to talk about any of those subjects. And I challenge anyone on this panel to tell me they support the idea of eliminating the 13th Amendment. Please tell me if that's not wacko.
Well, I'm not getting you on the 13th Amendment. I'm not sure he ever said it in those terms, but
that's what Kanye West said. It should be eliminated.
Okay, let's go to Pastor Scott. Pastor Scott, Kanye West is a very unconventional figure. Let's just put it that way. I mean, his music is, it's very popular. He's one of the top, rap artists in the world. He speaks to a certain, segment of the population. Again, very wealthy, incredible entrepreneur. It's not my cup of tea, but he comes out and he says a few things about fatherhood and people who lack masculine role models. I love this president. I want him to be successful. And suddenly he becomes, oh my God, he is the KKK. I thought the reaction to him was just way over the top, and I was wondering why. What are your thoughts?
Kanye West critics and detractors, they have a problem with how he said, what he said, and who he said it to. His content, when you dissect the content of what he said, what did he say that was so wrong? Even when my brother is talking about his abolishment of the 13th Amendment, there's a component in the 13th Amendment that legalizes slavery for criminals, with blacks being disproportionately incarcerated. Blacks being, hey man, I didn't interrupt you, calm down. With blacks being disproportionately incarcerated, he's saying that, and I had a brother-in-law that served years in prison, and he said it's turning into institutionalized slavery. They don't like the fact that Kanye West is his own man, and whatever you say he's not qualified to speak on, he's qualified to have his own opinion.
You don't know what you're talking about the 13th Amendment. You're wrong.
He doesn't try to be anybody else but a Kanye West.
What about stop and frisk?
What I don't like?
What about stop and frisk?
People that criticize the fact that he went up there, and all
you're
the people
ignoring what he said.
All the people that refused an opportunity to go themselves. Kanye West was there unfiltered, and the president allowed him to be unfiltered. And
he's not qualified, just like you.
They don't have the stones to go up and sit down with him and talk themselves. Then you can't stand outside and throw rocks. Go up there and go up there and talk to him yourself.
Okay, I want to go to Garland here, because I actually think this is an interesting moment. And it's an interesting moment because the conversation about race in America, to me, is stuck. It's not moving beyond where it is right now. And again, Kanye's kind of this unconventional guy. He's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He's a rapper. He starts small businesses. He's interested in technology. I don't know him. I don't know really much about him. But to me, and what he's saying is, let me think for myself. Don't denounce me because I actually like this guy who's president and want to make him successful. And I think to myself, why would the liberals be against that? Because everyone's for freedom of thought, be who you want to be, express who you want to be. So why are liberals so exercised about one guy? You got the whole celebrity community on your side. One guy who says he likes Trump.
I think there's two dynamics going on here. The first one, and let's be real, let's be honest about this. Within the black voting bloc, Donald Trump is absolutely loathed. And
36% approval is not bad.
I'll tell you what.
36% approval yesterday by Rasmussen.
Let's talk
That's
about
double it was last year.
Let's talk about,
you guys are worried about that, aren't you?
Let's talk about the second or third week. Wait, hold on a second.
Let him speak.
I understand those numbers. Let's talk about the second or third week of November and see if those those numbers hold up, which they're
They held up in 2016. I'll tell you that much.
Number two, and that's that you've got Kanye West, a guy with, and let's be honest, he does have a history of some mental issues and some outrageous statements. A guy who's worth $350 to $400 million. He does not speak for the black community. If Donald Trump was to ask me to speak with him tomorrow, I would, but I would expect to be vilified because I know the black community hates him so bad that I better be ready to. I'd be ready to.
Garland, hold on. Garland, hold on, guys, hold on. Do you think when you say the black community hates him so bad, how does that advance the black community? To say that.
See, I don't think it advanced the black community, but let me tell you something about the history of the black community in politics.
Because they didn't think that. They didn't think that. Wait a second. Wait. They didn't think that 5 years ago. He was a featured guest and celebrity on music videos and movies. Mm-hmm. He was revered by the entertainment industry, the sports industry. But suddenly Donald Trump is running the country. We got the lowest unemployment in 49 years for the country, historically low unemployment for African Americans. Still need work to do, but it's making some progress. So when you say they hate Donald, it just, there's something that's not adding up here, Garland. I'm honestly trying to make progress here, not just doing a talking point. There seems to be a bridge that can be built between what the president wants to accomplish for America and African Americans. Do you think so?
Absolutely not.
Not?
Let me tell you why.
President reform, what he's doing?
Forget it.
Forget it.
When in the black community, when they saw a bunch of guys in Charlottesville with Nazi flags and Donald Trump hats on, that was it. There's no coming back from that.
No coming back.
Right. Absolutely.
No, because he controlled Charlottesville. Let's go to Jeffrey Lord. Jeffrey, you haven't spoken yet. Jeffrey Lord, go ahead.
Laura, you hit it exactly on the head. Kanye West walked off the liberal plantation, and that's something that is not supposed to be done, and now they're coming from them. Laura, I'm going to read you a line which I know you recognize well, since it was said by Justice Clarence Thomas, for whom you clerked. And the line is that what he was put through, what Justice Thomas was put through, was a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deigned to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas. That is exactly
what does that have to do with Kanye West? That is so irrelevant.
Kanye West,
and you know.
Hold on, Leo. Leo, just hold on, sweetie.
Kanye West said the other day, "I'm an American." He is an American. He has every right to think whatever he chooses to think, and he should not be come for and not have people going after him like this and this disgraceful performance. I mean, this is disgusting. Disgusting what they're doing.
He didn't know what he was talking about.
He is an American hero for having the guts to stand up and say what he believes.
I want to play him.
Laura
is a hero for bringing him in.
Laura Ingraham has done a beautiful job of talking about Kanye has a right. No one's questioning that. But Laura Ingraham, you know as well as I do as a lawyer, what came out of his mouth, the content made no sense.
Okay, I have a question for you, Leo. Leo, I have a question for you. When LeBron James comes out and says, as he did some months back, that Donald Trump, I'm paraphrasing, it's not an exact quote, but he doesn't care about people. It was featured everywhere. I mean, LeBron James is an amazing person, incredible athlete, but I don't know how much he studies politics. Maybe he studies a lot, maybe he doesn't. But do you throw out a few blankety blank, lines about Trump, and suddenly you're a hero in the liberal sports world? And then if you criticize LeBron James, oh my God, you can't criticize LeBron James. But Kanye West does it in the Oval Office, and suddenly it's, you don't know anything. Well, does Kanye West know any less than LeBron James knows about politics? Probably not. All I'm saying is probably not. They're probably about the same because it's not like I don't know anything about basketball. I don't know anything about rap music. That's okay, but they have a right to speak out.
Great point, Laura. You make a good point about LeBron James and Kanye West. The point here is, everyone on this panel, you heard the content of the 13th Amendment and stop and frisk. Everyone on this panel knows there is no stop and frisk in this country, and that came out of Kanye West's mouth. And what's scary about it is he has a platform
I
in the White
understand what
House.
you're saying. Leo, you're monopolizing the panel, and I love that because you have so much emotion. But there is a push to bring back stop and frisk because people think, including, I think, Rudy Giuliani, that it actually was successful in stopping crime. He was coming out and saying, we don't want stop and frisk. So he was actually acting, I think, in a proactive way for what he happens to believe. I want to go, though, to Pastor Scott. Pastor, again, I think there's an enormous amount of progress that can be made on race relations. And I think it's going to probably come from new people. It's not going to come from probably anyone on this panel. It's going to come from new thinkers, people from different walks of life. And it's going to bust the old stereotypes. I don't know if it's Kanye West. Maybe it's not. But I don't like the idea of casting off people as deplorables, or he's stupid, or he's mental, or he's... I don't know. He's a person. Just judge him for what he is.
Lord, the black community doesn't hate Trump. The black media hates Trump. The black media is the mouthpiece for the Democratic Party that hates Trump. The black man on the street, they don't hate Trump. They like Trump's policies. They like the fact that unemployment is at an all-time low.
You don't speak for the black people.
No one does. Okay, Leo, give it a rest. Nobody speaks for anyone. We're speaking for ourselves. Go ahead.
I talked to some guys earlier from Chicago. The guys on the street in Chicago appreciate Kanye West standing up for them, speaking up for Larry Hoover, speaking up for other people and conditions in Chicago, and saying we want to make those conditions better. You guys are upset because he's not allowing himself to be a puppet for the Democratic Party. If he said these exact same things about a black leader, you and whoever else you speak for.
Shame on you.
That's what I'm saying about.
Shame on you.
All right,
Shame on you.
I want to go to Garland.
Y'all talk that black stuff, but you don't mind vilifying or crucifying another black man on television? You don't mind doing that? You're a hypocrite.
Shame on you.
All right, let's go to Don Lemon. Guys, hold on. I want to go to Don Lemon. This is something he said that had a lot of heads turning and involved the phrase minstrel show and Kanye. Let's watch.
I actually feel bad for him. What I saw was a minstrel show today. Him in front of all of these white people, mostly white people, embarrassing himself and embarrassing Americans, but mostly African Americans, because every one of them is sitting either at home or with their phones watching this, cringing. I couldn't even watch it.
Okay, this is from someone who was doing some type of shot on New Year's Eve, and the cameras speculated that a black hole could have swallowed up a Malaysian airliner, talking about something. I actually like Don Lemon. I think he's like a nice guy. But again, it's the pejorative. It's not dealing with any of the substantive issues that are actually on the table. The lack of father figures, how African-American kids and all kids without father figures gravitate toward others who can give them guidance. That racism as a weapon instead of racism as something we want to defeat and then move beyond. So I was actually disappointed with Don Lemon on the minstrel show comment, because certainly no conservative could have ever said that. Garland.
Certainly not. But
hold on. Let Garland speak, please.
Yeah, but certainly.
Hold on.
No.
He ought to know about minstrel shows.
Yeah.
But the issue we're looking at here, there are a lot of people. I kind of cringe.
Hold on, guys. Garland speaking. Thank you.
I kind of cringe, because the thing about it is, it's the person. I like Kanye West. I don't dislike him. I have nothing against him. But you remember the Taylor Swift issue. You never know what he's going to say, and I'm always on the edge waiting to cringe when he's in the alternate universes and things. Let's face it, he's not the right spokesman, and now it appears that conservatives are holding up this guy who's not the best spokesman, as though he's like speaking for all the wonderful things Trump is doing for black people in America.
I don't think anyone speaks for any one big group. When Jesse Jackson comes out and he's represented as he represents all black people, I always have people on my radio show who say, Jesse Jackson's an interesting guy. He was with MLK. He doesn't speak for me. So anyone who says they speak for
Garland doesn't speak for me either. Garland doesn't speak for me.
I get it. So everybody's speaking for himself or herself. I understand that. All I'm saying, and I think all of us are trying to get to the point where individuals of any color can speak their mind and have their ideas judged for what they are.
But the question The question is Kanye a credible spokesperson for the issues of black America? And I think most black Americans are looking at it saying, no, he hit on a couple of issues that I would say, I agree with that. Is LeBron James? But it was muddled.
Is LeBron James?
Well, no, but he didn't say much.
Okay, well, LeBron James campaigned for Hillary Clinton.
Speak for himself.
He can speak for himself,
All he
and
has
he
to
can
do
give
is speak for
his
himself.
truth. Kanye
Yeah,
West
everyone
can
has,
give his truth.
guys, everyone has their truth. I'm not putting down LeBron James. He has a right to speak out and campaign for everyone he wants. But all I'm saying is when one of the best, if not the best basketball player on earth speaks and does a rally for Hillary, nobody's saying, well, what's his expertise? Suddenly they're saying Kanye has no expertise. Well, versus whom? I don't know. I just think we gotta be clear on what we're talking about here and who's representing what group. I think the more voices, the better. That's my view. Judge everybody for their opinions, whatever they are, and I think it's a good thing. And I value all my opinions tonight, every one of you. All right, guys, for more insight into the mind of President Trump and the conservative populism that drives him, make sure to pick up a copy of my new book in paperback now, Busting the Barricades, What I Saw at the Populist Revolt. It's in bookstores everywhere.